Hello, hello, welcome. This is G. This is Allastrology and Taffy. She had to make her presence known. She's now turned her butt to my face, which is fine by me. We'll get some work done that way. So, welcome, welcome, welcome. It is Friday, October 7th. I'm putting up this really, hopefully, a quick, short video. I want to take a quick walk down Pluto lane. You know what I'm saying? Like, Pluto is going to stand direct. And I'm going to show the chart real quick so that we can maybe better understand some things. We'll talk about Pluto, number one. We'll talk about some of the other planets and like their conversations. Because remember, folks, planets are like people. They have conversations, they have personality, characteristic and traits. And so there's all these little, think about life, your neighbors, your coworkers, your family, your spouse, your job, your boss, the people in government, politics, like it's all here. Life is all here on paper in a chart. So we walk through it and we start reading it and we just pay attention to what's going on in our lives and we see, okay, these are the impressions, these are the inclinations, and then you observe. You step back, you stand, you watch, you observe, and you see what happened. How did this express exactly? Because we each have free will. And free will is very much a huge part of astrology. Okay. So anything that's talked about, remember, it's an inclination, it's an impression, it's an influence that you're under. It doesn't mean, well, whatever this person is saying, this is it. No, it's about you and what you do with that energy. Remember? It's not what happens to us that matters. It's how we respond or react or what we do with what happens to us. Yeah, that's what matters. So, let's take a walk together here. Yeah, we're marking it up. All right, so you see my cursor's right there. That's the circle, blah, blah, blah. All right, so just you're going to follow this little cursor thing on the screen, and we're going to go find Pluto. It's in the sign of Capricorn. So now before I even go there, well, actually, yeah, let me go there. I'll mark it. Okay, so here's Pluto. Yep, that's Pluto, folks. Yeah. So there's Pluto. And yes, that's the sign of Capricorn, right? It looks odd. It's like a letter V, this little J, fancy J connected to it. You may see it shown in a different symbol, different glyph, right? A lot of the signs have multiple ways you can draw their glyphs. Well, maybe not a lot of them, but some of them do. So anyhow, let's just, before we even go there, let's just get back to Pluto, right? Let's just get back to Pluto itself, because understanding what that Pluto means really will help us to understand. Yeah, you like that? It just totally went the opposite way. Will help us to understand what we can expect once I start talking about this. We'll talk about the sign of Capricorn, okay? So right now we're on Pluto, and Pluto in general is power. Yeah, it's big time power. So when we think power, we're thinking, well, okay, what does that mean? So we usually associate power with money. But here's the thing with Pluto, right? Because anybody who's a ruler has power, and you got to have usually a massive amount of wealth. And the more, that's why people, I think, try to attain money, right? Is to have power so they can live their life the way they want to live it, not have anybody else tell them what to do or what not to do, right? So power and money, typically, you would think with Pluto. However, the very cool thing about Pluto is it really isn't about the material and the tangible. It's really not. Pluto is about the hidden. It's about, think of Pluto as the ruler of Hades, right? So the Hades would be considered like, you go back into mythology, and I'm not sharp on any of that, so I'm not even going to try to pretend to tell any stories there. But you think about the depths of deep, of dark. You think about the unknown. You think about what we would consider, okay, where do you go after you die type of thing, right? You either go to heaven or hell. And so I think a lot of us would think, well, then isn't Hades the same as hell, right? Now, I'm not saying that that's what it is. I am just tossing around different words for us to kind of maybe try to comprehend something that we can't really put a tangible finger on, because I can't draw you a picture of what Pluto means, right? Because Pluto essentially is like something that's unseen. So if I say to you, can you show me what your soul looks like? Yeah, draw a picture of your soul for me. Can you do that? Or can you pick up an item and tell me that that represents your soul? Now, some of us would be like, well, absolutely, I can. I can draw maybe a heart and be like, this is my soul, right? So, okay, either way, it's a non tangible thing. We use a heart to describe our love or our feeling of love or our passions, possibly even, or even our unity, possibly. But it's typically not something tangible. So, the interesting thing about Pluto and its ability for power is that it is not really about the tangible. It isn't. It is about the unseen forces. And with Pluto, you don't mess around with Plutonian energies. Okay. Pluto, you know, on a very high level, Pluto is an altruistic vibration. Pluto is, I must do what is right for all involved. Pluto is, I'm going to give you this power, right? Think of, yeah, it makes me kind of think of that, the sword and the stone. I don't know why that popped in my head. Oh, it makes sense now that I think about it, because Pluto is a ruler of Scorpio, right? Pluto rules Scorpio, but Scorpio energy also has a co-ruler. It's not just Pluto, it's Mars. So that's possibly why that sorcerer's stone, uh that knife, that sword came into my mind, because it wasn't about brute strength, right? I don't, again, have that story memorized. Somebody in the comments tell me the story again, but it was supposedly, like, I think, the will of God type of thing. So it's not about brute strength. It's about doing what is right, but being on a very high level, meaning you're almost a spiritual activity, right? It's a spiritual activity. It's not about religions, although religions may have been connected with that, maybe that story, the Sorcerer's Stone, maybe that was connected to religion at the time. But you think about the spirituality as a blanket that covers all religions, right? So it's not about a religion, okay? It's about taking something to that spiritual level. It's about the best for all involved, doing something for something that is outside of myself, something that is greater beyond me, right? Yeah. So that's a little breakdown of just Pluto. Very powerful, and it's not dependent on the material and the physical. It's something it's a force that I don't think we would want to try to go up against. Matter of fact, in any astrology book, or the ancients, when they spoke about it, you don't ever really want to try to fight that Pluto energy. You want to, if the wave's coming along, whatever direction it's going in, you are best to not try to swim against it. Think of the force of the water and of the ocean. And I keep bringing up water and force and ocean because Pluto is below the surface, because a ruler of Scorpio, it is water. It is water, absolutely. Like, we don't really talk about that enough. At least I haven't been. But water energy, and Pluto at this particular degree, 26 degrees, which is where it stands still. And that, by the way, if I didn't mention it, which I don't think I did, is on October 8th, 2022 at 4:56 p.m. Central Daylight Time, adjust for where you live. Now, why does this matter? Well, it's not so much that day, right? Normally, Pluto, like a week before it changes directions, because it's going to stand still, meaning it's been going backwards, and then before it stands still, which is what we call direct. Well, when it starts to move forward again, it changes something. It stops moving. It slows down and it stops moving. And when any planet stops moving, when any planet slows down, we feel its effect a lot stronger. It's very obvious in our life. Okay. So the hidden, right? And we have to connect it to the sign, to the sign that it rules, which would be Scorpio. And so we got to think about Scorpio energy, which would be like taxes, right? Possibly financial systems, shared values, possibly debt. And with Pluto in the sign of Capricorn, which we will now get to, the sign of Capricorn here, right? I'll draw one more arrow, a big one, hopefully, for the sign of Capricorn. Yeah, I got blue jays outside. They've been screaming as soon as Pluto started to really slow down yesterday and the day before, because I associate the blue jays with Pluto. Yeah. And it's just, yeah, it's a test. So I'm not writing a book on this, but I'm experimenting with it. And that's so far what my observations have been. And of course a crow, right? So Pluto, Capricorn energy now, government, business, finances of big businesses, finances of governments. Right. This is global. This isn't just the United States, although it is a big deal for the US because the United States natal Pluto is 1 degree away from this. The US's natal Pluto is at 27:33, 27 degrees and 33 minutes. Yeah. Wow, right? Big businesses and government with Capricorn energy. So structures within the government, but it doesn't have to just be government, but businesses, but long-standing structures, institutions of society. Think about, literally get a pen and paper out and write down what are some of the things that you would consider an institution of society. Institutions, meaning the post office, banks, right? Financial systems. What about hospitals? Like these are institutions of society, even though they aren't necessarily government, but they hellified our big business, right? Absolutely. Big business and government, right? Things that society functions on. They're the backbone of a civilized world. Well, yeah, anyway. So now what I want to do is take a look at some of the other things, right? Like today's Friday, and we're not going to typically hear anything on a Saturday. So I thought that doing a Friday upload would be important just because tomorrow is the day, right? And so the nodes, North Node in Taurus, which is money, which is finances, which is banking, which is our creature comforts. This is the earth, literally, the planet, saving planet Earth. And what about our old values? That would be Scorpio energy, the South Node. And I say old values, old shared values of the past, because that's Pluto. It's our soul's energy. It's something that's hidden. It does represent the past because it's your soul power, right? And so your soul power is something that doesn't die. It's old as heck. It just keeps on going. And so, right, the connection is that Pluto rules this sign. Yeah. And so if Pluto rules the sign of Scorpio, we got to wonder debt, finances, what is the reality of our finances? And just, yeah, like there's just so much going on. Default and debt. And coming out of this pandemic, well, we're kind of still in it. And then some countries are still dealing with it in different ways. And so our global economy, not to mention the war that's going on, and then the situation with OPEC. All of this is screaming Taurus energy. All of this is our old values, right? It's values. It's not old, but it's our old values. Earth, natural resources. What are we dependent on with the earth? Like we don't know, right? That the barrels of crude, they're going to cut back 200 million barrels of crude a day. Did I hear that right? I could have misheard it. But either way, that's a guaranteed price spike in what you're going to see at the gas pump, right? But have no fear, folks. Have no fear. We've got technology coming. And yeah, you see this planet over here, Uranus? Just remember, Uranus is nuclear. Uranus is nuclear. Now, I know we've heard other people doing a lot of talking about nuclear recently. This is not about that. This isn't about Putin. But nuclear, I think, is something that, if you're not a supporter of nuclear energy, I'm not saying I'm pro-nuclear. What I am saying is I think it is the most realistic. I think it's the most realistic short-term solution to deal with the gasoline situation and being held kind of hostage. Yeah, kind of being held hostage. So nuclear energy possibly, right? I think that's a reality that we probably don't want to hear, but I think it's a substitute. It's a Band-Aid. I will say that. I think it's a Band-Aid to some of the other awesome stuff that is possible with, okay, that wasn't supposed to do that. That was supposed to happen. Some of the, or that will happen, I should say, with electric vehicles, with solar, with wind, with water, with just, all the Aquarius and uranium stuff. I shouldn't say uranium, but I mean uranium, like, Uranus energies, of the possibilities for alternative energy. Hydrogen, big time. Alternative energy, I think, is going to be something also. So our shared assets and shared values that are going to be likely going by the wayside, that we're going to release and possibly release because of the fact that we're recognizing how, you know, do we want to be victims, right? Do we want to be held victims? Do we want to be held hostage? Or what are we going to do about it, right? We have to use technology. We have to use innovation, Uranus, Aquarius. Remember, Aquarius rules Uranus. I'm sorry, my words are backwards today, so forgive me. It's why I wasn't going to even do this video. My brain is dyslexic. I know you probably think I'm. Uranus rules Aquarius. Sorry, some days it's worse than others. Yes, Uranus ruling Aquarius. This is innovation solving problems. This is innovation creating solutions for our future. The future is clean. The future is green because it's all about the energy. It's all about power. It's all about our resources, our natural resources, and our values with the earth. It is all about our shared values and debt and finances, financial systems, and about infrastructure that we need for the future that isn't built yet. Infrastructure for the future that isn't built yet. And so this Pluto is all about changing and transforming our significant structures of society. Pluto in Capricorn. It takes one form of structure, whether they're businesses or government branches, whatever, whether it's the post office or just, whatever different things like that are functions of the government that society depends on, that is a backbone of society. What I see are, because it's what Pluto does, it's Pluto's job is to take those things apart, literally brick by brick, down to the root level, like below the surface, to rip out the old foundation and to build fresh, to build anew. But using some of the old stuff, not 100%, because it transforms, it changes, right? It's that Phoenix rising. So keep that in mind. We are living in transformational times. Believe it or not, everything is functioning the way it's supposed to. We can't fix anything until we see just how broke it is. And that's what we're in the middle of. I do value your opinions. I value, your contributions to the channel as far as your input, your feedback, and however else you want to help the channel prosper and grow. So peace to you all, peace with us all. And remember, the way forward, together, we're better. Bye-bye.